Hi, and welcome to Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Here is your host, Dr. and Evangelist K.L. Rich.
Hi, and welcome to today's podcast of Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Yes, they do. But before we go on with today's podcast, I'd like to invite you to visit us on our website at www.narcabusenomore.org. Again, that website address is www.narcabusenomore.org. And on our website, you'll find valuable information regarding narcissism, relationships. And if you have missed any of these podcasts, all you have to do is go directly to the website and listen to us from there. Now, just to let you know, we're on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central. And that is on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, Castbox, and Deezer. We're also on Amazon, Audible, Rumble, Brighteon, and the Tube. That's right, we're on YouTube. So you have a variety of different platforms that you can listen to us from, but if all else fails, all you have to do is go directly to our website at www.narcabusenomore.org. All right, I pray that you all are having a blessed and prosperous new year so far, and that the remainder of this year will be narcissistic free, and if not, we're going to be talking about some things. Okay, now today we were supposed to have a guest co-host. However, some things came up where the host was not able to be with us today, but we will be rescheduling for next week. So please tune in to us, and I look forward to that. Brother Gilbert, he will be on, and we're going to be talking about relationships, and I'm excited about having a co-host on that day. So we look forward to that, and please tune in because you don't want to miss it. I'm excited. I'm pretty sure it is going to be a very lively podcast on that day. But today, since we don't have our co-host today, you know what? We're going to do something a little bit different that I normally don't do. Well, I actually have done just a tad bit of it, but I want to come to you from this book that I love. And this book is called The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist. The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist. And this is by Debbie Mirza, if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm sorry, M-I-R-Z-A. M-I-R-Z-A. Debbie Mirza, and you can get this on Amazon. She is a coach, an author, a singer, and a songwriter, and she helps people deal with and those who have experience and those who are still on that road to recovery from narcissism, being in narcissistic relationships, specifically with this particular book dealing with covert narcissists. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about covert narcissism, but I want to read you a chapter from her book. We may not get through this whole chapter, but I want to read and talk about some things that's in this book, in chapter 6 of the book, and it's dealing with covert narcissistic parents. Covert narcissistic parents, and you may be one that has one or two covert narcissistic parents, or you might have known someone that has this. You might think that they might have some covert narcissism in their parents. You might be married to a spouse who may have covert narcissistic parents. But we're gonna talk about that. And basically, the way I break it down for people to understand what the covert part is about is these are the narcissists, and I like to say they do their narcissism undercover. Okay, so undercover. So the covert, like a covert operative, an undercover operative. So these are undercover narcissists. They're not just as blatant as most people would think. Oh, well, you can tell that one's a narcissist or this one's a narcissist, whatever the case may be. These are the ones that do their little evil little deeds under the blanket, under the sheets, under the disguise of being a normal person. So we're gonna talk about the covert narcissistic parents, and I want to read to you from her chapter 6 of this book because it's very powerful. And I'm going to turn on. I normally do this when I'm reading stories about real life stories of narcissists, those who have been in narcissistic relationships. But today, we're going to turn on the music as I read to you from uh, from this page, from this chapter in this book, and you may be able to relate to what she's talking about in this book. And if you are, then I pray that you can get some healing as it pertains to the narcissistic parent that may be in your life or in the life of someone else that you know. And she says, quote, "You are so lucky to have a dad or mom like yours. To the outside world, your parent can seem perfect. They appear kind, easy to approach, and speak to others about how much they care for their kids. These are often the moms who write thank you notes, send sympathy cards, and bring casseroles to neighbors when they are going through a difficult time. They may volunteer at the school. The dad might coach his son's or daughter's soccer team. He's the one who is easy to talk to and who everyone loves. In public, he is kind and patient with his kids. The other moms wish their husbands could be that great. Most children of covert narcissistic parents don't realize one of their parents is a covert narcissist until they are in their 30s. I've noticed in my interviews that this age is a common time for awakening. It is a painful experience, but also validating. It is common for children of covert narcissistic parents to hear how lucky they are to have a mom or dad like they do throughout their childhood. This doesn't always happen, but is quite common. This makes things very confusing for the child and invalidates how they feel about their covert narcissistic parent. I have often noticed, though, some differences in covert narcissists and the moms and the dads. The stories might be different, but the traits are the same, and how they make a child feel is similar. They are incredibly selfish individuals who use their kids as their supply. Covert narcissistic parents seem to either be overly enmeshed in their kids' lives or they are the parent who is uninvolved. The parent who is absent or uninvolved will connect with their kids if the conversation centers on a topic of interest to the covert narcissistic parent. In these moments, the child feels loved, but it doesn't last. The covert narcissist won't engage in what the child needs. They do not know their children and are not aware of their needs. They may know them on a surface level, but don't take the time to really get to know them on a deeper level. They often label their kids as being certain ways that are far from the truth of what their kids actually are. As with all narcissists, they project their own issues onto their children, calling them manipulative, controlling, selfish, and other traits that they possess themselves. Some covert narcissistic parents are great with young kids until they reach an age where they can think for themselves. That's when the covert narcissistic dad or mom begins to pull away. They will get more irritated and frustrated with their kids because they, the narcissists, are no longer seen as amazing. The kids are no longer supplying their narcissistic parent with adoration and attention like they did when they were younger and would run up to them excitedly yelling, "Daddy" or "Mommy." Whether the parent is overly involved or very uninvolved, the impact is the same. There is no help with the development of self from either one. The child feels alone and unseen. All covert narcissists are selfish at their core. So that is how they are as parents. They want their child's attention and praise. Some covert narcissistic parents will focus more time and love onto the golden child who gives them the most adoration. The covert narcissistic parent will become frustrated and angry with the child who doesn't want to get into their world. They will give them the silent treatment and punish them by withdrawing from them. The covert narcissistic dad or mom will be kinder to the child who will listen to them or him or her, often the more sensitive, empathetic child who doesn't want any conflict. The other child or children will be labeled as controlling, selfish, or manipulative by the parent. The covert narcissistic parent may not say these things to their children's face, but they will feel the judgment and dislike from the covert narcissistic parent. The golden child is lavished on and treated with more kindness. This can seem like a nice thing for this child, but in face, it puts them in a position of trying to be perfect in order to keep that love and attention. They watch as their siblings are treated differently. They naturally want to keep that good feeling of being loved by their mom or dad. So they learn early on how they must behave or be treated with love. To be treated with love. This sets them up for a life that is filled with the pressure of never being less than perfect in anything they do. It has been instilled in them that this is how they get people to love them and to keep their love and attention. They also don't expect to be unconditionally loved. So often they choose partners who don't treat them with consistent pure love. They never feel good enough and can live without underlying despair and unhappiness for a long time. Everyone I interviewed was clearly affected by living with a covert narcissist. What I noticed is the ones who were married to a covert narcissist for more than 20 years physically shook while they told their stories. Their lips quivered. There were lots of tears and frustration. They were shaken like a person who had come back from war where they experienced unspeakable things. They were in shock. They had been traumatized and were trying to make sense of things. I'm going to stop right there. So, as we're reading this, what this is saying is that a covert narcissist, when you're dealing with a covert narcissistic parent, they are often self-centered and so they use their children for their own narcissistic supply. If they can get gratification from the child, then by all means, they will try to use that child for their benefit and receiving the attention or the accolades that come with whatever the child has been successful at or try to do. But what happens is that child feels as if everyone is loving to the narcissist, except for the narcissist doesn't show them the same thing behind closed doors as what they show other people. So in other words, a covert narcissist may seem loving, kind, caring to other people around, but behind closed doors, it's a whole different story. So you may tell someone, oh, this person is a narcissist, or my parent is a narcissist, or whatever the case may be. And if the parent is a coach, or if the parent is a teacher, or if the parent is even a pastor or something, no one would hardly believe it because the covert narcissist doesn't show those traits in front of others. So other people would think, oh, you're just so lucky to have a mom like that or a dad like that, when in actuality, they really don't see the true essence of who that person is, who that narcissist is. Why? Because we often talk about narcissists wearing a camouflage. They don't show their true colors. To the world, they're this amazing person. But behind closed doors, they're cold, unfeeling, unempathetic to their children. They make their children feel as if they're the manipulative one, they're the controlling one, they're the selfish one, when in actuality, these are the traits of that covert narcissistic parent. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in just a moment.
A chair is still a chair, even when there's no one sitting there. But a chair is not a house, and a house is not a home when there's no one there to hold you tight, and no one there you can kiss good night. A room is still a room, even when there's nothing there but gloom. But a room is not a house, and a house is not a home when the two of us are far apart, and one of us has a broken heart. Now and then I call your name, and suddenly your face appears, but it's just a crazy game. When it ends, it ends in tears. Pretty little darling, have a heart. Don't let one mistake keep us apart. I'm not meant to live alone. Turn this house into a home when I climb the stair and turn the key. Oh, please be there, saying that you're still in love with me. Yeah. I'm not meant to live alone. Turn this house into a home when I climb the stair and turn the key. Oh, please be there, still in love. I said, still in love. Still in love. Are you gonna be in love with me? I want you and need you to be still in love with me. Say you're gonna be in love with me. It's driving me crazy to think that my baby wouldn't be still in love with me. Are you gonna be? Say you're gonna be. Are you gonna be? Say you're gonna be. Are you gonna be? Say you're gonna be. Well, 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 well. Still in love, so in love, still in love with me. Are you gonna be? Say that you're gonna be still in love with me. Yeah, with me. Still in love with me. Yeah.
And that is A House Is Not a Home, and that's by the late Luther Vandross. We are returning back to our reading in this book. That's an awesome book, and it's called The Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. That's Mirza. And you can find this book on Amazon.com. And then she has a website that's listed here on the back of the book, www.debbiemirza.com. That's www.debbiemirza.com. And I want to read some more, because if you have a covert narcissistic parent, it can damage your self-esteem. It can cause you to feel incompetent to make decisions, to do anything. You feel like something is wrong with you, because that's what narcissists try to do. Any abuser, they try to make you feel like you're the reason for their abuse, and they don't call it abuse. They just make you feel like you're crazy. They gaslight you. They even triangulate you and try to make you feel like everybody else see them one way, and everybody else normally does see them one way. But the truth behind the scenes is they have this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of being. Everyone sees the Dr. Jekyll, the standard, the citizen, and he's an upstanding citizen and a doctor and doing all these good things for these people. But then underneath the mask is Mr. Hyde, who is evil, calculating, manipulative, a killer of your soul, killer of your spirit, killer of your self-esteem, killer of who you are as an individual. And this is damaging the children. And no matter whether it's a small child or an adult child, and oftentimes little children may not see it and recognize it, but as Debbie says here in this book, is that a lot of times she's noticed that when you're about 30 years old, that's when you become awake a lot of times to the type of manipulation, or become when you first start really noticing the type of manipulation that you've been up under when you're dealing with a narcissistic parent. She goes on to read, and we're in chapter 6. She says, one woman said she hated when her friends would come over because her mom would be so nice to them and they would leave thinking what a great life she had. She was dying inside and no one could see. For instance, Gail said she didn't like going out with her mom, watching her turn on intoxicating charm that swept others away. She felt jealous and wished she could have the same attention. At home, she walked on eggshells, trying to match her mom's emotions because if she succeeded, there would be peace. Her mom would tell her how a great mother she was compared to other parents. As a child, Gail believed that to be true, that her mother was a gift and a treasure to so many people. She seemed perfect in many ways. Gail's mother was the pillar of the community, a volunteer in her church. It wasn't until she was in her mid-30s that she realized her mom was a covert narcissist. Christy had a mom who was seen as a great parent by others as well. At home, her mom would have extravagant decorations every Christmas, but it always felt like she did it to impress her friends and neighbors. As Christy got older, her mom stopped decorating and complained about how much she hated the holidays. Christy ended up doing all the decorating herself and was shamed by her mother for liking Christmas. Also, her birthdays were either completely uneventful or a big extravagant party to impress others, and her mother made it all about her rather than Christy. After her college graduation ceremony, Christy came home to find a large, beautifully wrapped box waiting for her. Excited, she opened it only to find lime green towels and a set of white plastic hangers. Her heart sank. Even though she had experienced years of disappointing gifts that showed her mother didn't care or didn't know her, there was still a glimpse of hope that this time might be different, that the gift would be some sign her mother really did care about her and wanted to give her something really special on her big day. Christy had hoped to find something wonderful in the box, something truly meaningful, and at the same time she felt ashamed for her ungratefulness. She smiled and said thank you to her mom. When you live with a covert narcissist, it is common to feel let down, followed by shame for not being appreciative. There is also that hope that the person you believed loved you and should know you better than anyone else might come through for you. Christy told me she felt like she had lived with an enduring low-level sadness her whole life. I felt this for her, and my heart broke. She is kind, caring, real, honest, smart, and tender. She deserves so much better. Many adult daughters of covert narcissistic mothers told me stories about growing up, stories of confusion, cruelty, and manipulation mixed with loving statements. The majority of them said they considered their mom to be their best friend until they were well into adulthood. Allie's mom praised her constantly. She was very involved in her life. She would make sure she excelled in school to the point that she would redo a lot of her projects to make sure they would be impressive and get high grades. She would get all the books and supplies Allie needed. Her mom was frequently stressed, so Allie even made sure she cleaned and did helpful things around the house to help her. This resulted in her growing up feeling on edge. She felt responsible for her mom's anxiety, believing she was to blame. If she didn't exist, her mom would be happier, she reasoned. Moms covert narcissism often act like martyrs. Allie's mom would do normal mom things such as make dinner, but would make a big deal of it, causing Allie to feel a lot of guilt. This is intense underlying manipulation that makes children feel so much guilt and shame. They blame themselves a lot and feel like they're responsible for how their covert narcissistic parent feels. And let me stop right there, because The narcissistic parent will make you feel like the things that they do are extraordinary, things that they are not supposed to do as a parent. For example, if a covert narcissist cook for the kids, iron their clothes, buy food, groceries in the house, and do those things that parents are supposed to do, then the covert narcissist will make the child feels as if they're doing something extraordinary. And so you better be grateful, because after all, I really don't have to do these things, when in actuality, that's your job as a parent when they're underage, under your roof, to provide, give nourishment, supply for them, make sure they're in school, give them the attention that they need, because you're the one that decided to have children. That's part of the package, if it's going to be done right. But the covert narcissistic parent makes the child feel as if they are only doing this out of their I'm not going to even say obligation, that this is something that they really don't have to do, when in actuality is something that they're supposed to do. Why? Because you are the parent. And therefore the child feels guilty and ashamed when the parent treats them this way, and make them feel like the normal things that the parent is supposed to do really doesn't have to happen. And let me just say this: if you have children, you have taken on that responsibility to provide for them. You have taken on that responsibility to care for them, to cook for them, to buy them clothes, to provide nourishment, and to give them love and attention. These are the things that come with proper parenting. Covert narcissistic parents are also very out of touch with their kids. They will tell others how their kids are doing, usually sharing glowing reports that are not based in reality. Tommy's doing great, they'll say to friends, when the truth is Tommy keeps missing school because he is experiencing depression. I've heard kids of covert narcissistic dads say it feels to them like he acts like he's listening, but he is not really there. He doesn't really hear them. What they say just seems to bounce off him instead of penetrating his heart and mind. He acts like he cares, but it doesn't really feel like he does. It's not a normal back and forth exchange with covert narcissistic parents. It is an act and almost feels scripted. It is impossible to have a deep, authentic connection with a covert narcissist. And let me just say this, because many children of covert narcissists, you might feel alone. You might feel bad about yourselves. You might be questioning everything because the covert narcissist gaslit you. But oftentimes, and I'm going to read this sentence from this book. It says, oftentimes covert narcissistic parents will set up their children or their kids to think they won't be able to handle life on their own. So the children form an unhealthy dependency. Do you find that you are a codependent? Do you find that you always need someone's approval or validation, or you feel like I have to second guess myself because I can't make decisions on my own? Why? Because the covert narcissist made you feel as if anything that you do, achieve, accomplish, if it wasn't to their approval, then it was dismissed. And then you grew up not having that high self-esteem that you really needed, because your parent always invalidated, degraded, demeaned, devalued you, and therefore it caused you to have a low sense of self-worth. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
out there. And even though I know how very far apart we are, it helps to think we might be wishing on the same bright star.
And when the night wind starts to sing a lonesome lullaby, it helps to think we're sleeping underneath the same big sky. Somewhere out there, if love can see us through, then we'll be together somewhere out there, out where dreams come true.
I'm looking for my family.
And even though I know how very far apart we are, it helps to think we might be wishing on the same bright star.
And when the night wind starts to sing a lonesome lullaby, it helps to think we're sleeping underneath the same big sky. Somewhere out there, if love can see us through, then we'll be together somewhere out there, out where dreams come true.
Somewhere Out There, and that is by Linda Ronstadt and James Ingram. All right, so we're still talking about the covert narcissist. I pray that this podcast is blessing you, and you may be dealing with that right now, and you just now finding out about covert narcissism, and you may have a narcissistic parent who don't get you, doesn't want to get you. And that's okay. You know what the thing is? As long as you get you and understand what you're dealing with and what you have been dealing with, and know that it's not in your head that this has really taken place. This is who this person is. You may have gone years. You're like, I didn't even know what was wrong. I just knew something was wrong. And then you finally get that aha moment and be like, wow, this is it. This is what I've been dealing with all these years. I'm not crazy. This is what I have been dealing with. You'll finally be free because you finally understand what it is. We're coming from the Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist book by Debbie Mirza, Mirza, and you can get this from Amazon.com or go directly to her website at www.debbiemirza.com. She goes on to say, a common theme I've seen with children of covert narcissistic parents is it is hard for them to believe in themselves. They doubt their own capabilities. Often a covert narcissistic parent would make them feel terrible about themselves when they give them advice, but act as if they care or are concerned. The children feel downtrodden, discouraged, stressed, and confused. It is hard for them to think clearly and feel any strength around their covert narcissistic parent. Autumn Autumn is her name, discovered a strange thing when she met other daughters of covert narcissistic moms. She couldn't believe they all had the same bizarre memory in common. She remembers her mom often singing a certain song around the house. The song is from the musical Annie, Get Your Gun, with one round of lyrics stating, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. She shared this with other women in the support group. They couldn't believe it. Their moms used to walk around their house singing the same song. Some covert narcissistic moms get jealous of their children. They are emotionally immature and extraordinarily selfish. They will encourage their child with a project the child chooses, but when the child starts to succeed, the mom will cultivate seeds of doubt in their mind. They won't be obvious, but the child will feel discouraged and begin to question themselves. Covert narcissistic parents act as if they care, but don't have the empathy to really care as someone would who is genuine and compassionate. Unconditional selfless love does not exist with a covert narcissistic parent. And we're going to stop right there. I want to actually come back to this maybe sometime next week and deal with some of the things that that covert narcissistic moms or dads would often say that cause the children to doubt themselves, to feel bad about themselves, to not be confident in themselves. And let me just say this. It is so important for that foundation to be built when you're dealing with, or when you have children, that they feel that they can make decisions, that they can be confident in those decisions, that they don't always have to second guess themselves, that they can feel a value, that they can know that they have a sense of self-worth. And that often comes with the parent-child relationship. And that parent plays an important role in how the child feels about themselves as they become adults. But when that is missing, then it can also do a lot of damage. And so I pray that if you are dealing with a covert narcissistic parent, that you would know it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not damaged. It's the parent. And you may have experienced some things that may cause you to feel damaged. But let me just say this. There's healing. There's healing. And the first step to healing is being able to understand what you're dealing with, what you have dealt with. And then being able to readjust, just like when you do when you have a computer and that computer freezes or that computer crashes, then you have to reboot, Control Alt Delete, Control Alt Delete. And you may have to reboot your system. Sometimes that means going to counseling. It could be, getting some self-help books. It could be joining a support group. But one thing you don't want to do is to allow the manipulation, domination, control, devaluing, demeaning, belittling, all those things to continue so it won't have a negative effect on your psyche. And the only way to know that is the rules to the narcissist, what they are about. And then when you know the rules to the game, then guess what? You know how not to play it. All right, we are up out of here. I pray that today's podcast has been informative and that it has been a blessing to you. And let me just say this. I want you to know that your feelings do matter. You're not crazy. Okay, it's a book on Amazon. It says, "You're not crazy, your mother is." I forgot who the author is, but you can find it on Amazon. But the thing is, your feelings are real, and you are entitled to your feelings and to express them. And if you have to go to a counselor, because we just did a podcast on choosing a good therapist, a counselor, then go to counseling. If you need to find a support group, find a support group. If you need to, you might say the only thing I can do right now is get some self-help books. Do that. Whatever is going to help you to be the best you. I believe that the number one book is the Bible, and then get other books that can help you along the way, counseling, therapists, life coaches, whoever can help you to get on that road to recovery. It's not a race. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. All right, we are up out of here. I pray to see you next time. And just know that your feelings do matter. This is Dr. Rich.
We want to thank you for taking the time to join us today on Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Until next time.